Alright, we are here on the modded map of the belt made by 30k, one of the modders within the Discord community. We've got a 4v4 on this map, remembering that we can flip the map to navigate above and below. The map consists of 5 points: A up the top, B in the center, with C down in the bottom right, D down the bottom left, and E up the top right. So they're basically a symmetrical set of control points, forcing both teams to move forward and take those objectives. So we've largely got the blue team all deploying in the center. Looks like they'll go for a strike on point B. And if we look at orange, it looks like they're clustering. They're clustering their ships in various groups, which again are going to point B. We may see one of these ships orientate to point Alpha and point Echo, and likewise on the same side, but it's a bit hard to see at the moment as their spawn gate's roughly going to be in this main circle. Alright, so spawning in, it looks like a destroyer fleet straight off the bat. Nice picture of probably an E-War Corvette there with a bit of gunpowder at the front. Alright, so if we have a look at the fleets, we've got light cruisers up the top from NASA, jammers, these are torpedo light cruisers, roll-offs. I would imagine they're torpedoes, they could be missiles, but they've got roll-off missiles. WSV is bringing a number of corvettes, so guns, point defense, a VLS 23 and nothing else. And it looks like he's probably just going to replicate that across a number of his ships. Corvette there that has what I would imagine is torpedoes, same deal. And we've got frigates with point defense and EWA. The Mick Fleet main heavy cruiser with cannons. So it looks like Mick and WSV both carrying heavy cruisers, and so 3 heavy cruisers on Team Blue. Otherwise, we've got a number of corvettes and frigates. No destroyers, no battleships on this side. If we jump over to the orange team, let's have a look at what we have. So they've sort of clustered in 3 or 4 groups, each around each player. So we've got a battleship here, standard railgun loadout, VLS, so VLS 23s with a lot of chaff, probably maybe some ripostes, and minimal point defense on this one actually, other than that. And what I imagine is it's spotting frigate. So EWA there, VLS 16, VLS 23. Over here we've got 3 light cruisers, a mix of guns on the front, and I think that's a jammer. It looks like 3 of the same battleship here. Bit of point defense on top, and some 120 mils by the looks of it, which is actually quite different. So maybe this one's got more of a spotting utility role. Down the bottom, beam destroyers by CSS. So standard destroyer layout. 1 main ship and all these beam destroyers linking off that. That'll be its E-War/lead ship, and it's got, I think, 250s. They look like 250s on top, and then point defense and beams. We've got some thunderheads being fired into the center point. If we quickly just finish up, another railgun heavy cruiser, and a spotter there. So we jump into the middle. Zone B and C is being taken by blue, so they've gone forward with their corvettes. Some thunderheads coming out now to try and dissuade blue from taking those points. Curving around that asteroid really, really well. some point defense and some chaff going out from the defenders on WSV Cappy. But their Hurricanes, they're not going to be affected by chaff. However, the asteroid is doing the point defense for this ship. Railgun shots coming out from the battleship, engaging the blue fleet down the bottom, and we've got some more Hurricanes being fired. However, again, it looks like the WSV Cappy has done an amazing job in its positioning. Its point defense is able to shoot. However, it is defending itself using this asteroid. So it's going to capture the center point, being B. We've got corvettes versus beams over on the left-hand flank. So we've got one that's come through and captured C, but it's blocked by the rock. So as the beams come around, it's going to see all these other corvettes. So the beams should get the drop. The beams and the 120s/250s are easily going to be able to take out these corvettes who are already starting to take a little bit of frontal damage. And there's your first beam strike of the game, destroying that corvette straight up. Got some Thunderheads coming forward. Thunderheads and beams are probably going to destroy these corvettes pretty quickly, as they don't have a lot of armor and it's just going to be able to punch through. Now there should have been enough point defense on these ships here, so I don't really see too much but we'll get some counter missile fire with the ripostes from the MiG fleet, so the frigate and the heavy cruiser, and that's going to negate, that's going to easily destroy that. Railgun's still coming in, but looks like a miss. I imagine the point defense from this ship will probably clean it up. No, it just misses. So the beams have already taken out 2 corvettes on this side. We've got lifeboats being popped from the Swarmlet, with the rest of the point defense from the Auroras taking out the maces. So these maces are probably not going to make contact. A quick short-range Thunderhead salvo will being avoided. A couple hits in there. Otherwise, we've got shots coming in from the light cruisers up the top, who are able to also provide top-down fire onto these corvettes. So getting some coordinated flanking fire, or enfilade fire, and some chaff out from the destroyers. So WSV's lost a number of his corvettes over there. We've got some gales coming in. Over on the right-hand side, IML has captured point D. His corvettes and heavy cruisers are probably going to move up to point A and capture that now. We see nothing in point B. That still remains captured by the blue team. The corvette's continuing to come out. I imagine this one's trying to get in nice and close for a torpedo strike, but it just fired its torpedoes, so it's probably on a cooldown, just trying to get into position now. The beams, however, will probably negate this corvette getting into engagement range with its torpedoes. Sort of a last-ditch hurrah by that corvette. And we've got a Thunderhead being fired out. This will probably end it. No, misses. They're potentially too close for it to activate. One of the corvettes detonating there due to a internal reaction. Nobody's in blue. No one's in B. Hurricanes being fired out each way. Point E is captured by orange, however it's not displaying. So the light cruiser is retreating for now. The rail cruiser here, or the rail battleship here, what's it pointing at? It looks like it's trading barbs with the frigate, the MIC, the Brief Walsh. It's getting hits onto it. So this one's got point defense, it's got jammers, and it's got a Mark 62. So those railgun shots are just going to be able to take it out as it moves across it. as the rail battleships engaging that frigate. We've got the heavy cruiser Mass Ultra engaging the combo Glum with rails as well, so that should quickly fall. Beams are out now for the Brief Walsh. The beam destroyers over on point C have taken out the corvettes from WSV, so they're going to now exploit through and start to engage the Rhodey Q-Mot. They've already put out a few Thunderheads, but looks like the point defense of the Riposte are going to negate that. However, it's got coordinated fire from the Stones at Glass Houses, good name, and now 3 beams all into this one ship. So this ship will not last too long. It's unfortunate it's just been caught out in the middle of the map. Or, sorry, it's been caught out in a bit of an open space, and it's probably the most dangerous area to fight in within this game. Now Thunderhead's being launched from the beam destroyers. Supporting railgun fire coming in from the Lost of Ali. We'll just throw this into cinematic mode. And you can just see the weight of fire that's been engaging this heavy cruiser here. Life pods retreating in the distance. So we've got beams and rails. That ship's done. You can see the space oil / smoke representing the fact that that ship is destroyed and it's negated out. So Thunderheads from the beam destroyers now switching targets over to what I would imagine being the USS Thomas Gold and the WSV Lost of Ali. Point captures, it's 3 to orange, 1 to blue. A is still uncaptured, but probably free to do so by any ship that is able to get up there. The Mass Ultra has destroyed Combe Glum, so it's gone critical. Down here we've just got, I think that's a spotter corvette. Looks like it's suffered some damage, but it's still in the fight. We've got the Inner Guru, one of the blue team's destroyers, just taking railgun fire. Looks like it's supporting ships nowhere near it. I'll probably say they're up here trying to engage the orange fleet. But with Thunderheads coming out now. Thunderheads coming out, the beams coming around. This is probably where they may or may not survive. It looks like the USS David Bowman has taken severe damage, so it's not orientating towards the enemy. And you can see its thrusters at the front have taken some damage. It's popping some chaff in case there are any other missiles. However, they are countering with Thunderheads back. So High Score's fleet taking some shots here, but I would imagine that they're going to be able to negate these Thunderheads. Beams being fired out, some squalls to counter jamming. So these will only target active radars, such as your blanket jammers. Looks like they've turned that off, so all the squalls are just simply missing. Yep, they're going nowhere. They're now taking what I would see as 120mm fire. Yep, so Mark 62s, 120mm HE most likely. Maybe a little bit of AP. So it looks like the WSV block is engaging with its jammers, as it's orientated all its jammers to focus on the destroyer fleet. Now the USS Harrisburg, it's got its cannons, so it's firing 450 mils It's engaging down on top of the beam destroyers. So as long as they can orientate to a fire on the Harrisburg, they will probably win. However, the Harrisburg is in sort of that position. If it can keep out of the line of sight of the beams, it will be okay. But we start to see the beam destroyers now taking some severe damage. You can see the trailing smoke coming from each of the destroyers. So as they try to orientate and turn, they will sort of get the upper hand, but they have to be able to turn. And it looks like they're turning as a formation, and that's slowing them down. The Corvette here looks like it's also suffered some damage. So these top shots are just going straight into the flat sides of these beam destroyers. It looks like the Charles Conrad is also just supporting 120mm fire, so that should be fine. We've now got the Mass Ultra, which is providing rear shots from where it is over to the USS Harrisburg, maybe even trading with some of the blue fleets. We've got Gales now coming out. So these weren't beams, these missile cruisers weren't torpedoes, they're Gales. So someone here should be providing an illuminator. Chaff being deployed as a counter to the Gales. However, second wave's coming in. And the light cruisers also firing, so Gales can be counteracted by Chaff as the Illuminator captures that. But if the Illuminator is targeting a specific ship, well, that's going to, as they drift away from the Chaff, the Gales will reacquire. Let's just see if they make any impacts. No, it looks like the Illuminator's not on. There's no Chaff there. So it looks like the Gales have missed, although we've got more incoming. If we have a look at the battlefield, blue still got B being the center point, and orange the outer points. However, no one's got A. The Gales still look like they're missing. It doesn't look like anyone's being able to capture. It looks like the Illuminator is either not on or not focused on one of these ships, as it's not even going for the Chaff. So it looks like the Illuminator is just not on at the moment. Although that one gets a strike. So maybe that's just the way that the missiles spread. It was able to get that. Another round of Gales coming in. Thunderhead's being fired down here at the Inert Guru. It's countering with its flak guns, the 50mm flak. As the battleship starts to loom over it, that's its one who fired. So it's going to start to get the Thunderheads down. And it looks like High Score's asking who's done firing Gales. But that's it for the Inert Guru. It's dead as well. The Mass Ultra is now firing Squalls. From its roll-off, you can tell because there's 4 of them in together. It's just fine. There it is on its side-mounted roll-off. Its railguns engaging. It's got a perfect line to support the battleship Stones at a Glass House in coordinated fire of the USS Harrisburg. Netsack's calling GG. He's out. His ships must be now all destroyed. And I think those squalls were just there to help divert the point defense from the Thunderheads fired by the battleship. Some more squalls coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more Thunderheads, or he's just going it by himself now. The Lost of Ali. Firing railguns, but can't see where. Oh yeah, so it's firing over at the destroyers, who are those 2 missed, but they've taken severe damage, not really moving. The Harrisburg is still alive and kicking. It's changed its priority of fire down to the Mass Ultra, although it looks like one of its cannons at least is out as it tries to rotate to bring its other 450 mils around. It's getting some good shots down there. Will it make impact? Yep, so getting towards the reactor and the drives. The drives are probably still fine, but they're not using it. It's using its maneuvering thrusters to maintain its heading this way as it drives forward. Railguns still look okay. It's got a supporting 450mm cannon, so a bit of mixed shots of 450 and railguns. The CSS delete is moving up, so it's bringing its beams as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the beams now start to position themselves to take out the Charles Conrad and the Harrisburg. Railgun fire from the Lost of Ali still going into these destroyers though, so it looks like the CSS copy is potentially crippled. It looks like it's taken some damage from one of the reactor explosions earlier in the game. CSS Pace taking a bit more damage, not moving, potentially suffered some internal damage here. But CSS Cut continues to climb, however still not orientating itself towards either of those ships. Point A is being captured by Blue by the WSV PAR. B is being captured by Orange, so CSSS Delete has now taken Point B, and Point C is being captured by one of these corvettes. Whilst it's good to bring big, heavy, durable ships in these control matches, it's really important to also be able to capture these points late in the game with corvettes that can move around the map pretty quickly. So even with being a bit behind, they can cause a lot of havoc by now just capturing all the different points. So I wouldn't be surprised if PAR moves down to D and captures that, and that would give Blue a 3-2. However, Blue is about half the points behind Orange at the moment, so they may not just be able to catch up. So Stones at a Glass House is still firing. It's got a beat on the Harrisburg, but it's actually firing at the Charles Conrad. Charles Conrad's taking some a fair amount of damage. So that's probably where its power is. It looks like it's lost at least three of its radars, and its turrets look like it's out. It's not going to do much to the battleship, and it just needs to hide. So yep, there we go. Stones at a Glass House now firing over at the Harrisburg. Just an EWA frigate here providing support. Looks like it either has a blanket jammer, and I'd say it has a blanket jammer and a comms jammer, and it's got some missiles and a VLS-23. The light cruisers just making their way over the top of the map. They're going to capture Point A. Squalls being fired into the Harrisburg. A couple make impacts there. Now that's either because they had the blankets on, or the Mass Ultra's been able to have just angled that really, really well, because being a stationary target, the Squalls don't need to move, so maybe he's just dumbfired that. Battleship coming in and over the top, just firing down through the heavy cruiser, which looks like it's taken a significant beating. It's not moving. It's not engaging. It looks like its power could be out, or its drives could be out. And you can just see that it's probably not going to go too far. Heavy cruiser still engaging with its railguns. It looks like it's firing at CSS copy. It's missing a couple of its shots. Missed all of its shots there, but it is now being engaged in turn by the battleship. So the battleship should win this engagement. Just because it's undamaged, and also because it's bringing more rails to bear at the moment. Squalls being fired up at the Harrisburg again, although we got some Auroras from the Charles Conrad and the Harrisburg. However, it looks like one's hit, two's hit, and 450 mils is coming from the Mass Ultra continuing to engage. So the ship's not out. Looks like its drives just came back online, so it looks like it has been repairing. while we're here, just take a moment to enjoy this modded map made by 30k. It's a really nice map. The orange fog makes it just a little bit more spacey, like it's in a debris field or an asteroid belt, and this is all just little particles everywhere. He's done a really good job on this. I quite like this map. That Corvette's destroyed. No, it's not. That's the Charles Conrad. More squalls being fired, and I reckon he's done firing these. One defender's still working. This is probably the best course of action for the defender, but it's just not getting the angle. 1, 2, 3. Although looks like point defense gets 1, and it's bringing and it's just taking continual fire as well. And I think Orange has got this map. So that ends this game. That was a good game on the map, the belts. You can see the power of the railguns. The Corvettes were unlucky just at that beginning when they came around and they saw beams, especially from that head-on position. If they had seen them differently, if they'd come from above or below, that may have been a different story. However, that's sometimes just the nature of the game. As always, High Score performing well with his beam fleet. Microing a lot of Corvettes is actually quite hard as well, so you know, until you've played that, you can't say that it's a bad thing, but you can definitely do a lot of damage with a Corvette swarm. It just takes a lot of practice, and you know, you got to get those right matchups. Heavy cruiser here, supported by 3 Corvettes, Ovnaught, heavy cruiser, and all these Corvette swarms. So yeah, I thought they were 2 separate ones, but he actually had quite a few ships there. That's a lot to manage. And then some beams and more heavy cruisers. So overall, really good game. Well played by both sides.